Jan, thank you very much for joining us. It's a pleasure having you on our show, and I'd love to talk to you about your book. But first, if you wouldn't mind giving us a brief introduction of who you are, what you've been up to.
Yeah, my pleasure to be here, KP. So my name is Yan Maschke. I am an executive and team coach. I work with senior executives and executive teams on coaching, on leadership, and strategy facilitation.
And can you tell me a little bit about your book, Leadership Unlocked? What is it about? What's the big idea behind it?
Yeah, so Leadership Unlocked, the power of your body for impact and fulfillment. This book is about an approach that's integrative between mind and body to allow us to be more effective as a leader and also be more authentic in life. The big idea is that the body is a shortcut to effectiveness and authenticity by disrupting the habits of the mind.
Okay, can you tell me a little more about that? Just to understand it a little better, can you explain what you mean?
Yeah, so oftentimes when we think about leadership can be leading a big corporation in the company, or you can be leading our own lives or leading a family. We often think about leadership in a way that's more focused on the mind. I think there I am, right? So what is it that I want to do? I want to delegate better. I want to be more strategic. I want to have more emotional intelligence. If I think hard enough, and then I will be able to become more effective. The secret or the shortcut I've discovered is that we can accelerate all of that leadership development and effectiveness of our leadership and in becoming more authentic self when we can combine the mind and the body in our consideration. And specifically, the two ideas in the book is about how the body can help us accelerate change. And so from a thinking all the way to an embodied action. The second idea is that the body can help us deepen our awareness. The awareness helps us gain emotional intelligence, helps us have more sustained conviction behind a change we're trying to drive, and helps us be more authentic in whatever action we take. So again, the body accelerates the change, the body deepens awareness.
Okay, and to make it a little more tangible, let's take the accelerating change, for example. Do you have any stories, case studies, or some way to help us understand exactly what that looks like in real life?
Yeah, well, I'll give you a couple of examples. These are real actual client stories, and they're in the book as well. So in the chapter called Delegation, one of my clients is, one of his coaching goals is to better delegate and be also elevating to a strategic level. And so as we were working together in a 6 month engagement, and one day we were sitting together, I said, what happens when you are not delegating? What do you tend to do? He says, well, I tend to just go do the things myself. And in the morning I come to the office, I go straight to my computer and I just start typing, handling issues. And he was demonstrating with me, typing like this, right? And I said, what would you do instead of doing that in the morning, go straight to the computer and start typing and handling issues? If you want to delegate better, what would you do instead? What would your body do differently? He thought about it. He goes, well, I guess I just won't open my computer to start typing. I will be kind of processing what's coming my way for the day or for the week, and then thinking about how can I be strategic? What can I delegate? Be intentional about it. Then that's the mind, that's the thinking. Then I wanted to invite the body in here to help them accelerate the change. Because many times we want to change, we don't make the change. And so I said, is there something that your body can, a small gesture, small movement can inform you, can tell you to do, that remind you that in the morning, don't start typing on the computer, but actually thinking about delegation and being strategic. So he thought about it for a second. He goes, how about this? I think I can do this. He did this. Okay, let me see if you can see me. He takes a breath in, like this. He does this. I said, what does that mean? And he goes, this is what that means. When I bring my arms in, I'm actually evaluating what I have on my plate. I take a breath in to evaluate, not doing anything. And I straighten my spine so I can be more strategic in thinking. And then I take a breath out and push it out. This movement of the outward movement, the pushing, is a reminder for him to delegate. And so I said, well, that's brilliant. If that's what your body is telling you, then, do you want to give that a try? So he said, I will. He was trying to practice this for 3-4 times a day. And every time he does that, he takes a breath in, evaluate, sits up tall, and take a breath out and push it out. And as he is practicing this embodiment practice or this physical practice, he's thinking his mind, taking my time, be strategic, and delegate. So that connection or associative learning is happening together. So the cells that fire together, wire together. So as he does this physical sequence or this movement, he's thinking about delegation and being more strategic. And that is what gets embedded into his memory. And as he practiced a few times a day for a few weeks, it became a lot more natural for him. And it serves as a reminder to be delegating and not start typing. Instead, that's one example of using the body to help him accelerate the change he wanted.
So through your work, you found that helping clients associate their thinking with a physical action makes them more likely to adhere to it, make it more consistently, and turn that potentially into a habit or break bad habits. Is that fair?
Absolutely. And you're basically disrupting a pattern. There's a pattern that he goes to the computer, he starts typing, and that pattern is stored in the body, the neurobiological system, right? It's not even going through any of us conscious mind, where neuroscientists pretty much agree 90 to 95% of our decisions in the day is made automatically, not by the subconscious, not by the conscious mind. So the memories are stored in our neurobiological memories. And so how do we disrupt that? If it's not going through your cognitive system, just by thinking it, it's difficult to disrupt it. We got to disrupt it where it's stored. And so that's what he's doing by incorporating the body and the mind. And that serves directly into disrupting the hand movement to type. And he's changing the movement of the hand to a different association. Delegation, being strategic.
And another example that you shared in the book, I think, has to do more about taking action, getting out of your head, just do it kind of mentality. Can you share a little more about that?
So this is on the chapter about kind of strategic actions, right? Really getting out of your head and get into your feet. And this is literally the language of my client, another client. She said, I want to be able to get out of my head and get into my feet. And I do experiential coaching, which is to take the client to a fun venue outside of work environment and have an experience. And in the experience, you have the whole body engaged, right? The whole thing is about mind and body. And then that deepens the awareness. And then from that, you can create more sustainable change. So I took this client to the Cleveland Museum, the MoCA, Museum of Contemporary Art in Cleveland. And through our experiential coaching session, she came up with this kind of embodiment practice to help her get out of her head and get into action. She was actually imagining something that kind of feels like to her like a sun salutation in yoga. She is kind of breathing up and the arms out and looking up, right? Literally looking up to the sky. So she's thinking about being more strategic in the actions and not just being hung up on not being perfect. And then she tries to kind of bring all the energy down and ground herself and tell herself this energy goes all the way to the feet, to the ground, and turn the thinking to the action on her feet, because her thought is, how do I get out of my head, get to my feet? So that particular little practice she came up with is what's going to remind her to get out of her head, get into her feet, and put into action.
And is the book giving us so somebody who picks up the book, reads it, what are they going to get out of it? Is it more examples of how they can turn their thinking into embodiments and turn them into practice and create habits and break patterns?
So there are 3 things they're going to get out of that. There are 8 kind of meaty chapters, and there's introduction overviews about those 2 key points about body helps to accelerate change and body helps to deepen awareness. I call it the doing and the being. But in the middle, there are 8 meaty chapters. In each chapter, you're going to get 3 things. One is actually majority of the chapter is a real story of a senior leader I've worked with. So the story about how this particular client has used the mind-body approach to help them be more effective in leadership and also be a happier person and feeling authentic. The second part is after the story, they'll see a short leadership lesson. And then the third part is a physical practice. I call it the embodiment practice. So the reader can connect the dots from the story to the lesson to what they can actually do now, putting into the practice in real life and real work.
Excellent. And for people who want to learn more about, these practices, more about the content, the book, what you're doing, are there any resources available, or how do they connect with you?
Yes, they can connect with me on social media. LinkedIn is my primary platform, Yan Maschke. On my website, yanmaschke.com, they can go see the book page. They can also go to my blog page. In my blog page, they can see free resources where I share leadership tips and insights and reflections, either in a blog format or a vlog or video format.
All right. And now for the two quick-fire questions. What's your second favorite business book?
My second favorite business book. This book has really, I've echoed with this very much, resonated with it, and has had a pretty big impact in my work as a professional provider, as an entrepreneur. It's called Getting Naked. And it's not, what are you thinking? It's Getting Naked is all about business by Patrick Lencioni. And it's a fable, so it's a story. It's really about, for professional providers, service providers, but I think it's for any professional, can be product providers as well. How do you build client loyalty, specifically about the use of vulnerability, open and honest communication to be able to build that trust with a client. To me, it's all about authenticity, and this book is all about authenticity. And I really resonated with that particular story in the book called Getting Naked. And so I feel that I resonate with so much that reading the book allowed me to be even further committed to the approach I already believed in, is to always show up 100% as the true me. So I'll tell my clients, coaching clients, that my job is to serve you, not to please you. And I just want to make sure that you're okay with that. And I also say that I walk into every meeting being willing to be fired that day, because one of the challenges with the senior leaders is that at that high level, you get very filtered information, and you may not really hear the things that you need to hear. And so as a coach, I can see the power in them that they don't see themselves. And I dare to say things no one else dares to say. And so that authenticity and that transparency and the vulnerability and that getting naked in front of the client is what really resonates with me. It's been a huge part of my approach, my authenticity, working with the clients. And oftentimes I'll talk the client out of an engagement because that's not the right thing to do for them at this point. And that being naked that way and be truly transparent and being me, showing up, I don't care about the project, I care about you as a client. So yeah, that's my favorite second book.
And what do you wish you knew when you were 20?
Oh boy, the innocent years. I was just working hard, trying to achieve success and fulfillment. I always thought that once you are successful, making the money, having the job title, the status and prestige, then you are fulfilled. And I think my lesson learned is that it does not equal that. To find fulfillment, you really want to be authentic and finding a true self, and what you really value, what's most important to you, what are your true strengths and interests, and align everything you do with that. And so you can bring the most full self to the world in the most inspiring way. So I wish I knew that the fulfillment does not necessarily come from the external metrics of success that we typically think about. It's really I think life is a journey towards authenticity, that wholeness with the true self. And I wish I knew that, and maybe had some of the soul searching questions, asked myself those questions a little earlier than it happened.
Excellent. Thank you so much for being on the show and for sharing all these insights.
It's my pleasure.